YouTube. Today I'm here to tell you my review of and my horrific experience with the company RXRelief. To be clear, RXRelief is a recruiting agency specifically for pharmacists and pharmacy techs and other related fields. I have come to the conclusion that in all likelihood it is an identity theft scam, and I would highly advise anyone out there that's considering using them to avoid it. Yes, I am a licensed pharmacy tech in the state of California. So let's get started. So I was poking around on Indeed.com looking for a job, and I found some jobs posted by RXRelief. And on a Friday afternoon, I got a phone call from a woman named Erica. And she said, "Hey, we saw your resume. We really think you're great. We have a job out in East LA we would really love to get you an interview for. You're qualified for it." My boss, her name is Angela Chandnaputrakul. She has a weekly Zoom meeting every Friday night at 7 o'clock for people that are interested in getting on board with us and getting involved with us so that we can find them and we can find them jobs. "Would you like to join us tonight?" And I said, yes, of course. And I was so excited and I was so happy. And so 7 o'clock on Friday night, I went to the Zoom meeting, and it was me, Angela, this 26-year-old guy named Isaac who was looking to be a pharmacy intern, and a woman about my age. I can't remember her name. She was East Indian. She worked out in Placentia, and she said that she couldn't stand her job anymore. She said it was driving her crazy. I think she said she worked for Placentia Linda Pharmacy. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what she said. But anyway, Angela was very well dressed, had plenty of makeup on. You could tell that she'd had several cosmetic surgeries, was wearing very expensive clothes, and she told us that she was currently at the Holiday Inn in San Antonio, Texas, and she said she goes to San Antonio a lot, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, since she works finding people to be pharmacists, pharmacy techs, and pharmacy interns in California. And this, as far as I know, at least for pharmacy tech, the license in California is not valid in Texas and vice versa. But anyway, she seemed really nice, and she said, "Hey, I want you guys to all come over to my house at 11:30 in the morning on Sunday so we can fill out a stack of papers this thick, and I'm going to order you guys lunch. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to explain everything to you in detail because the paperwork is very complicated, and then I'll get you guys started on your respective interviews, okay?" And we all thought that was great. So she lives out near, really close to Griffith Park. Late come Sunday, I was running late, and I got a phone call at 11:31 from her, and she said, "I'm not at home." And I said, "What do you mean you're not at home? Was there an emergency?" And she said, No, it wasn't an emergency. You see, my son is in a basketball league. And last night, his team was up for elimination because it's the playoffs. And I could have sworn they were going to lose. They were not doing well. I was so sure they were going to lose. And then, lo and behold, his team won. So they're still in the playoffs. And his next game is today at noon. So I had to take off to take my son to his basketball game to give him my emotional support. But don't worry, you should still go to my house, because my maid is there, my servant is there, and she'll take care of you, and she'll go through all the paperwork with you and everything. And by the way, at this point, I forgot to mention this. This is very crucial to why I think this was an identity theft scam. She told us that she wanted us to bring either our social security card or our passport and the actual physical copy of our license. In the state of California, at least for pharmacy tech, you don't need to see the person's license to be sure they're telling the truth. If they give you their name and their tech license number, you can go to the state website and figure out in 5 minutes if they're lying to you or not. Serena, I don't have... Oh, hi, Darla. Meow. It's my cat, Darla. She's meowing. Hi, Darla. I'll be done soon. Anyway, so I was kind of upset by all of this, and I went to the house, and I was most of the way there, so I went to the house anyway. I was 16 minutes late, and I was greeted by this really, really obese Filipino woman, and she called herself Maria. And as I recall, if I'm recalling correctly, she kind of had an accent. And she took me into the house, and it was like a really, really fancy house. This was a multi-million-dollar house. Very expensive, definitely. And she sat me down, and she gave me a huge stack of papers, and she told me that she wanted my passport. She said she was going to take my passport into another room where I couldn't watch, and I asked her if I could follow her, and she said no. She said that she was going to take my passport into another room. I was not allowed to watch what she was going to do with it, and she said that she was going to make a copy of it and then give it back to me. And I refused. And I want to make this very clear. A former employer of mine told me to never trust someone if they want to keep or make a copy of your Social Security card or your passport. He told me they just need to see it and write the number down, and that's it. He said that if anybody wants to make a copy of or permanently keep your Social Security card or passport, that person is not legitimate. All right, and so I told her absolutely not, no. And Isaac was there, and so was the other woman from our Zoom meeting, and a Chinese woman I had never seen before. And it turned out that the fabulous lunch was a tiny can of Coke, a little tiny bottle of water, some chips, some cheap bags of chips, and like a little platter of these little pastry things. I don't even know what they were, but they looked disgusting. And Angela had promised that she was going to personally sit down with us, explain everything to us, and she was going to order us a good lunch. This was a multi-million-dollar house in Griffith Park, and this woman has had plastic surgery. She's staying at the Holiday Inn in San Antonio. She definitely has money to buy us a decent lunch. And Isaac told me that he felt disappointed in the food too, and I asked him if he had seen Angela at all because he had gotten there first, and he said he had gotten there right at 11:30. And that he saw her, ran out the door, and she slammed the door in his face and didn't even say hello. And so I declined to give my passport to the servant, and then I kept looking. And the documents were quite bizarre. There was a test there, and they gave you a cheat sheet, an answer key with all the correct answers to the test. So I don't know why they would be giving you a test and then give you all the correct answers. I mean, there's no point in taking a test if they're going to let you completely cheat on it, right? And so I went outside and I called my mom, and my mom called me on the phone, and my mom answered the phone, and I told her what was going on, and my mom was really scared, and she's like, these people are up to no good, get out of there right now. She's like, leave right now, come home right now. And so I went back in there, I got the papers, and I told the servant, there is something really fishy here. I can't believe that you could not have taken the boy to the basketball game. I mean, this is not your business. This is Angela's business. And no matter how wealthy you are, you're always responsible for at least doing some things yourself. And this was her business, not the maid's business. And so I told her, this is very suspicious, it's very strange, I'm leaving. And she didn't say a word to me, and I left, and I came home, and I was furious. Then later that day, Angela called me, and she was really apologetic, and she said, oh, I'll give you a $50 Starbucks gift card. I'm sorry, I was certain my son's team was not going to make it. When I was talking to you on Friday, I was so surprised that he won, and I just had to be there to cheer him on. And she did go through with getting me a $50 Starbucks gift card, and I was like, well, maybe the servant made a mistake maybe she didn't really have to take my passport into a room where I couldn't see and make a copy of it. I was like, okay, maybe I'll give her another chance. That's a huge apology. And Angela sent me for a drug test, even though I was not even lined up for a job interview yet. And she was like, oh, let's make good. You can come to my house in 8 days, and I'll walk you through everything then, and I will get you the job interview out in East LA, and I got another one in Pico Rivera that I think looks good for you too. And I contacted her the night before I was supposed to go back to her house to meet up with her, and she said she was on an airplane, and she was trying to avoid me, I felt. And then to top it all off, she confirmed that what the servant had told me was true, that she was going to have to make and keep a photocopy of my passport. And keep in mind, this is not even to get me a job. She was not even going to hire me. She was doing this to get me a job interview. There is no reason why someone has to have a photocopy of your passport for a job interview. And so I just said, forget this, it's not going to work out. So I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in working with you anymore. And she tried to call me a couple times to apologize, and I just didn't answer the phone, and that was the end of it. But just to make sure, because I was like, maybe she's not really with this company, RXRelief. I went on Google by myself, and I found the phone number for the corporate office in Fresno, and I called them, and I told them everything that happened, and they said, yes, Angela is our vice president down there in LA County. Yes, we do require, our corporation requires that you give us either a copy of your passport or your social security card in order to give you a job interview. And I said, this is just too strange. And I said, forget about this. And so that was the end of that. I never went through with doing business with Angela, so I can't say for certain, but this really, really reeks of identity theft to me. And I would exercise extreme caution if I was to have anything to do with her or anybody else in RXRelief. Oh, and I have something else to tell you guys. RXRelief is only one of 5 companies that does this. They're under an umbrella called Pride Staff. And I don't know about the other 4 companies that are under Pride Staff, but I would be cautious with them, and I would say it's likely that they probably function the same way. But this woman just had money coming out of her ears. Actually, as I was leaving, I saw her pool boy arriving. So she has a multi-million-dollar mansion, she has a maid, she has cosmetic surgery, she has money to go on airplanes whenever she wants to, she has very expensive clothing, she wears a lot of makeup. And I just think that it looks like too much money to me. I know she's married. I don't know what her husband does for a living. That might explain some of it, but still, the fact that she was so set that she had to have a copy of my passport when I have been told in the past that's completely unnecessary. It was just to get me a job interview, not even to get me a job. I find that highly suspicious. I wouldn't have anything to do with RXRelief. And like I said, the other Pride Staff companies, I have no experience with them, but I would exercise extreme caution. I had a hard time believing the story that she had to take off for the kids' basketball game. And she knew the night before that he had won and would have to be playing the next day, so she could have called us on the phone and postponed the meeting for later in the day. So it still seemed like an excuse. Like I said, no matter what, the maid was still there to take the boy to the basketball game. So the whole thing, it looked like she was just looking for an excuse to get out of the house so she could have the maid do a bunch of illegal things and then blame everything on the maid to get out of it. So that's all I have to say. Obviously, I cannot boss anybody around. I cannot tell you what to do or what not to do. I can't force you to avoid RXRelief and other Pride Staff companies, but this is just a warning. If you get involved with RXRelief, Angela or anybody else in that company, they will force you to give them a copy of your passport and social security card, and that's a huge risk. So you've been warned. This was my experience. Have a good day.